Okay, we're going to get started again. Please take your seats. A lot of discussion.
Yeah, a lot of that going on.
No, I left mine. My wife. Where are you? No, we'll get you. Do your thing. Do your thing. It's important. That thing is important. We made a decision to move, you know? All right, we're getting back. Can you please take your seats? It's a disobedient crowd over here. We're slowly getting there. Is that like a bag? That's a bag, isn't it? Oh, I'm good. I'm just, I'm ready to go. What? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, before we get back to the voting session, we're going to call Frank Mitch to the podium, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's always daunting being the after lunch speaker. You know, you come out, everybody had a nice lunch, Ag Society lunch, it was great. But coming up, trying to keep everyone somewhat interested in what we're talking about. So as Dave said, I'm Frank Minch. I'm the Director of Agricultural and Natural Resources within the department. Today I brought Sandra Howland with me, and we have been part of a team to work on improving how we look at farmland assessment, and specifically with soil productivity and how we map out the farm to provide information to the tax assessor to get our assessment in conjunction with our FA1 form. And everything we're going to talk about today is on the website through the department at that web address, or you can look on the department's website. It's all available. It's all live. It's all free. Everyone can look at it right now if you wanted to. Okay, so just want to point that out to everybody. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, Tim, you started me off, Tim. No. Okay, so a little bit of background for everybody. Up to this point, up till right now, we've used a lot of old data to determine what the soils information is and what the productivity rating is. Okay, with all Farmland Assessment Act, it was based on mapping was available to them at the time, which in some counties went back as far as 1911. And up until recently, we were still using those old maps. And so the problem, and you can look at the slide here, part of the problem is the mapping at that time was done on a 40-acre grid, right? So pretty large tracts. And they generalized the soils at that time and what they knew at that time. Okay, so that's in this picture here, it's the colored areas, right? The turquoise or blue, bluish green, kind of that gray purplish, and the green, right? And the like the lime green, right? So that's the old mapping. Now the red lines, and I know the people in the back probably can't see, but there's some red lines there. The red lines represent the current mapping and the way we map soils. So the soil itself hasn't changed, but the way what we call the soil, the naming of the soil, a little distinctions in the soil. As technology's improved, we've had some more distinction in the soils themselves and what we call them and the reference points and some of the makeup. And so in trying to overlay this information and utilize it to generate a map and look at productivity, it just wasn't working, right? It did not have any real way to work effectively. Okay, so we have new soil series, but we have old productivity ratings tied to old named soil types that don't exist anymore. And so that was our challenge, is trying to marry all the new technology with the new data and with the old way of looking at soil productivity. And in 2019, the legislature agreed with that and said, fix this. So the first thing we did was go to NRCS, right? They're the soils mapping group. And many of you are familiar with the Surgo data, may have used it before. They're our go-to. They're the ones that we rely on for all the mapping information that we have. Okay, so we went to them, and it really was a good effort on their part. And again, as I started saying, it was a collaborative effort because they needed to take maps that were at a different scale than what the current mapping is, sort of stretch all that out, make it all fit, and create an overlay that made sense. And so in addition to that, because the productivity index that was used at the time, again, was based on old soils, we needed to find another way to determine what soil productivity is. And we looked to something it's a national standard. It's called the National Commodity Crop Productivity Index, or NCCPI, to come up with those ratings. And Sandy will get into a little bit more detail on that in a second. And the third thing we did was go to Rowan and their GIS office and have them work with us to put together what I think is really good user-friendly way to look at the farm and assess everything to generate the information that you all need to file with your FA1 forms. And again, it's voluntary. There's no mandate on this. The assessors are being trained on this, so they all know what's coming. So it's something that's out there and available. Next thing. For this point, I'll turn it over to Sandy to get into a little bit more detail of what we're mapping and sort of why did the why. She's gonna do the why.
Thank you, Frank. So I'm Sandy Howland. I'm with the Division of Agricultural and Natural Resources. I work with Frank as a research scientist. So just want to give a bit of background information about what this tool is using in the background before we get into a fun and exciting demonstration. So it overlays 3 layers. First, soil map units from the USDA Surgo data. Second, parcel information, the Mod 4 data that's maintained by the state. And third, as Frank said, the National Commodity Crop Productivity Index, which is built and maintained by USDA for crop productivity. The benefit of using the NCCPI is that it is built using objective criteria such as slope or seasonally high water tables that relate directly to the ability of soils to foster crop productivity. And it does have 3 separate models for regional differences in productivity. So this is the website. From here, You can interact with the website by searching by address, by municipality, block and lot, or by clicking and zooming within the state, and you can select different parcels and somewhat explore your area. For the demonstration, we're searching municipality, block and lot. Once entered, the mapping tool zooms to the selected parcel. You can click on the different soiled map units for more information about them. To begin mapping, you click on the Draw Land Use Boundary. We recommend first mapping your non-farmland assessed portion of the property. From there, each additional land use area acts like a puzzle piece, which makes it very easy to map the entire parcel. You'll notice this next land use that is drawn overlaps some of the non-farmland assessed portion, and it goes outside of the parcel. This makes it very easy to interface with. For each land use mapped, you then select, it's entered and shown on the left there in your report. You continue this process until you've completely mapped the parcel. And as you'll see, this parcel is quite complicated. For the example, your parcel may simply be one land use, perhaps cropland harvested. In that case, you could just select the entirety of the parcel. When you're done, click Finish, and then click Finish again. From there, a PDF report is downloaded to your computer. None of this information is saved anywhere on the internet. It is yours and yours alone. And so now we'll take a look at the report. This is generally put on to one page, the top half of which is the map you've just created, as well as your basic parcel information, and then the good stuff. Your soil productivity ranking by land use type. And this breakdown is what tax assessors should be using to calculate your farmland assessment taxes. So again, as Frank said, this tool is optional to use. It is not required. You can go in there, generate this map for your own information. Farmland assessment is a special differential tax. Reassessment will only be completed upon request. But if you choose to move forward with that, the tax assessor is going to need the information generated in this report. Frank, back to you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks there. Thank you. Yeah. So as Sandy mentioned and I mentioned earlier, it's all online as of right this moment. It is available and free. If you need help, or you know someone who needs help and they're not good with computers, or it seems to not be working for them, you know, we can always go to a soil conservation district. They've been apprised that this is available. We're working to train them and get them up to speed on it, but that could be a resource that you could go to if you needed some additional assistance. Let's see. So if you need help with the actual mapping tool itself, you can reach out to us, right? If there's a problem, it's not working, you know, sometimes, as we all experience, these things get a little glitchy once in a while. If there's a problem, you can reach out to us. If you have a question about the assessment, you need to first go to the assessor. And then if there's an issue or concern or question, then you can come to us, right? Because I've had a lot of people call about various things with farmland assessment right now. And the first question I ask them is, have you talked to the assessor, right? So it helps us in that regard to have that already covered by the time you try to reach out to us. So again, it's bringing everything to the current century, you know, in terms of mapping. I think it can provide you some valuable information in terms of the productivity rating with Sandy. On the one side, we have the table, right? BCD or ABC or whatever your productivity ranking will be. It'll populate all that for you. It'll give you a breakdown of what's part of the property is a B, what part of it is a C, and it's all tied to what you pick as the as the activity, right? Are you cropland harvested? Is it a pertinent woodland? Is it something else? Those selections will break down by categorically. So again, the example was a real complicated one, but it's designed to show you that if you have a complicated operation, you can pull out individual parcels and sections of the farm to map them out independently. Okay. And again, as you showed earlier, there's some soils information that comes up in the beginning. You can certainly reference that and then go back to the Sergo data if you want to really know a little bit more about some real detailed information if you're really looking for that on the type of soil. So with that, I'd certainly welcome any questions anyone may have.
So if you try to improve your farm, you put other drains in, drain it, fertilize it, all those things, will this start improving over a period of time?
It will not. The Commodity Crop Productivity Index looks at integral soil properties. It does not account for irrigation, for example. It also wouldn't account for under drainage. If the model's updated, yes, as your farm was improved, the soil map units could potentially be updated. But I think at the most base level, this data is reflective of statewide soil properties, not quite that detailed.
Right. To be clear, we're not inventing new data. We're not making up new information. This is all available information that we're just squeezing into one program to allow you to evaluate the farm, take a look at what's the operation is, and get some information to provide back to the assessors in conjunction with the FA1 form. They take that column on the left-hand side and the information in that column, and then they put it into the Mod 4 program that they use to run with the FEEC value, right? And that's what determines what the tax rate is going to be. So it's only as good as the information that's out right now. And right now it's the most current thing. Once the soils, if there's new mapping takes place or there's some new determination, it will be updated to account for all that once that's done. The tax assessor will have to accept this in a reassessment evaluation at this, right. And they know that. We've worked with taxation. They're providing a lot of training to all the assessors. So the assessors, everybody should be aware of this on that end, that the availability of this. They aren't going to do it. The assessors are not going to run through this program, right? They're going to ask you or have somebody do it on your behalf, but they will accept it. It's something that they know about it, and it's something that they should take. If there's a question about that, then that's something we need to know so we can work with taxation and the local assessor to correct that. Anybody else? Wow. All right. Well, we're good. So Sandy and I'll be here. And if anybody has any questions, we certainly would be happy to speak with you at any point. All right. Sandy? Okay, here, Max.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Sandy. I'd like to call Bill Cutts. Start the resolution process this afternoon.
Okay, we're going to start off this afternoon with resolution number 7, soil protection on farmland, found at page 17 of your packet. I will begin reading at line 28 on page 18. Now therefore, be it resolved that we, the delegates to the 107th State Agricultural Convention, assembled in Atlantic City, New Jersey, on February 9th through 10th, 2022, do hereby strongly urge the SADC to make itself available for all opportunities and forums to present to agricultural groups, especially county agricultural boards, the new proposed soil protection standards under consideration, both before and after that rule proposal is to be published in the New Jersey Register, which is anticipated to be shortly after this convention, and particularly during the public comment period after publication, and to acknowledge that the limitations set forth in the deed of easement are fixed at the time each landowner signs the deed of easement, and thus cannot be unilaterally amended, and to meet but not exceed the mandate given by the courts to address the issue of soil protection on preserved farms. Excuse me. Be it further resolved that we urge the SADC to adhere to the explicit language of the entire deed of easement when seeking to reconcile the competing statutory goals embodied in the language of documents guiding the preservation programs regarding the protection of the land base and the encouragement of a positive, agricultural business climate. Do I have a resolution to move? Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution? So moved. We have a second? And a second. The floor is open for discussion. Keith?
Keith McIndoe, Cumberland County Board of Ag Delegate. We'd like to add a few paragraphs, hopefully quickly here. The State Agricultural Development Committee, first line. Oh, it's already up there. Okay. First line of their description on their website states, and I quote, leads in the preservation of New Jersey's farmland and promotes innovative approaches to maintaining the viability of agriculture, end quote. Agricultural viability should be the utmost importance and priority for all commodity groups when addressing any standard. Should we take each, or should we do all three?
Let's do one at a time.
Okay, so that's the first one.
All right. So so let me just read it for the benefit of those of you in the back of the room that can't see the screen. Be it further resolved that since the State Agriculture Development Committee's website speaks to SADC leading in the preservation of New Jersey farmland and promoting innovative approaches to maintaining the viability of agriculture, that agricultural viability should be of the utmost importance and priority for all commodity groups when addressing all standards, future and existing, within the program. That's the language that's being moved as an amendment. Do I have a motion and a second? Do I have any discussion on the proposed amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. The amendment is adopted.
So the next two paragraphs can be removed due that they're already incorporated in some of the other resolutions.
When you say the next two paragraphs,
Jeff had put everything on my list in. When
okay,
it was only supposed.
so the next two in red, you're saying we can disregard? Yeah.
The next one can be
The
removed.
the lines are shown right over to your left-hand side.
58 to 61 can be removed. Okay, so the next one is there needs to be a method to address any operation that potentially will be impacted with an emphasis on remediation and accessibility to the best management practices in order for continued growth in that operation, in order for it to continue to be a profitable farm in the state.
Okay, so the language which Keith just read, lines 58 through 61, is being proposed as an amendment. Do I have a second? I have a second. Is there any, any discussion on the proposed amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The amendment is adopted.
And then the last one is all standards should take into consideration the best ecological standards with regards to soil erosion, and that the SADC should work closely with the soil conservation districts so that they are both aligned.
Okay. I have a motion to insert that language, which is shown as lines 62 through 64 up on the screen. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion regarding this proposed amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. This amendment is adopted.
That's all I had.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Reich Saddam. I'm a farmer in Somerset County, and I own partner with two different preserve farms. So this has an impact on me, as I'm sure it does many. So I have some proposed wording that Jeff already has. Let's see, there's two of them, so we'll do them one at a time, just like we did the other one, if you will. Be it further resolved that we strongly urge the SADC to adopt language in the soil protection rules that will allow soil disturbance limits to be transferred between commonly owned preserved properties that support smart agricultural development prior to the publishing and adoption of these rules. And if I get a second, I'll speak to it.
We have a second. Jeff, can you roll the screen down just a little bit? There you go. Thanks.
The idea here is, ladies and gentlemen, just like me, I've got a preserved farm. There are actually two different deeds because they were preserved at two different times. But if I want to expand the infrastructure of my farm that supports all of it, it's all going to land on, it makes sense to keep it on the home farm, the original farm. So since they're in common ownership, I'm not sure how this is going to work. This is why we're going to ask the SADC and the smart people over there to figure this out. How can we transfer, it's the same ownership, transfer that soil disturbance, whatever number comes up, can be transferred to the home farm. Just kind of like a TDR, but we're going to transfer that soil disturbance from one to the other. And if anybody else would like to speak to it, back me up on this.
Okay, thanks, Reich. Any further discussion on this proposed amendment? Sure, but can you go to a mic, please? Thanks.
Thank you, Kurt Alsett from the State Board. And I just wanted to emphasize, I've been working on this issue for a long time, even before my tenure on the board started. As a preserved farmland owner of a lot of different tracts, I'm intimately familiar with the numerous examples of farmers who have started with a farm and then purchased a farm next door and then purchased another farm. And there's a lot of infrastructure on one farm. And if any of you were to look at these farms, you would say, well, that would make sense. The next barn should be built where there's already barns, where there's already power, where there's already infrastructure, where there's already bathrooms. And if you dig deeper into the way the rules are constructed and proposed right now, it would cap the amount of appropriate ag development you can do on one tract, and then would force you to have like this sprawl development. And I think we've all acknowledged that one of the worst things that's ever happened in New Jersey is sprawl development, where we have these large tracts of land with a house right in the middle where if things had been concentrated and we kept big tracts of open space that could have been farmed in a contiguous way, would have made it a lot more sensible for agriculture. Well, we're right back into it now. If you have tracts of land that are commonly owned, these rules will apply to each individual tract by themselves, even though you own them together and they may even be contiguous. So I think that we need to apply the logic of farm management unit to the way that we look at soil protection. And then that's what this amendment seeks to do. Thank you.
That was pretty good.
Thanks. Any further discussion on the proposed amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the proposed amendment, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. The amendment is adopted. You have a second issue? Go ahead.
Yes. Again, this is up on the screen. I'll read it. Be it further resolved that we strongly urge the SADC create and share the preferred preserved farmland owners the data that illustrates exactly how much disturbance is preserved farm as prior to publishing and adopting the soil protection rules. All right, didn't come out real smooth. The idea here is when we determine the exact amount, I would like the SADC to share that data with me because I know what I think is disturbed. I want to know what they think is disturbed or could be, and I want to see that data. It's just sharing of the information is what I'm asking for. And if there's a
Okay.
second,
Do we have a second? We have a second. Any discussion on this proposed amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. The amendment is adopted. Back to discussion on the full resolution. Any further discussion on the full resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. The resolution is adopted. We'll now move to resolution number 8, transfer of development rights, found at page 19 of your packet. I will begin reading on page 21 at line 55. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the delegates to the 107th State Agricultural Convention, assembled in Atlantic City, New Jersey on February 9 and 10, 2022, support the permanent protection of New Jersey's farmland, historic and natural resources through, among other methods, the judicious and market-aware use of transfer development rights. Be it further resolved that we strongly urge coordinated efforts by and among the various New Jersey state agencies to work with the state TDR bank with regard to establishing receiving areas necessary to drive demand for Highlands and Pinelands PDC credits. Be it further resolved that we support prior bills that established a program that enables the redemption of Highlands and Pinelands development credits statewide, which was designed to specifically motivate the purchase of Highlands and Pinelands TDR credits in exchange for approval of projects that may or may not be in the Highlands or Pinelands, but anywhere in the state. Be it further resolved that we support the participation of the department and the State Agriculture Development Committee in helping to implement a New Jersey Task Force report of recommendation to encourage the use of TDRs at both the municipal level and regionally through changes to relevant statutes, regulations, policies, and programs as recommended in the state plan. Be it further resolved that we support the use of municipal non-contiguous clustering pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-1 et seq. as a way of achieving development transfers without disrupting underlying zoning by creating a voluntary program to transfer development potential from areas where preservation is desirable to areas intended to support new development. Be it further resolved that the agricultural community should monitor the implementation of this law at the municipal level to maximize landowner protections and assess this program's feasibility as an equity enhancement opportunity for agricultural landowners. Be it further resolved that we strongly urge coordinated efforts by and among the various New Jersey state agencies to aid municipalities interested in TDR, in particular with regard to establishing the receiving areas and demonstrating a market for the TDRs necessary to drive demand for TDR credits. Be it further resolved that we urge municipalities to engage with their planners, agricultural advisory committees, and the state to identify opportunities for use of TDR non-contiguous cluster and other density transfer techniques. Be it further resolved that we strongly urge any municipality or regional entity establishing or with established TDR programs to ensure that landowner equity is given the utmost consideration and protected in the long term by either creating lasting viable markets for TDR credits or discontinuing TDR programs promptly if found to be inoperable, consistent with the State TDR Act, and that in lieu of a viable program including adequate funding with no TDRs applied, the program in that area be terminated. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution? Have a motion, do I have a second? Somewhere? Second? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Do we have discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The resolution is adopted. We'll now move to resolution number 9, Hunger, Nutrition, and Gleaning in New Jersey, found at page 23 of your packet. I will begin reading at page 25 on line 65. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the delegates to the 107th State Agricultural Convention assembled in Atlantic City, New Jersey on February 9th and 10th, 2022, do hereby continue to support the efforts of the department and its partners in the United States Department of Agriculture, as well as community feeding organizations, to ensure that healthy food choices and fresh fruits and vegetables are available to all children and adults throughout New Jersey. Be it further resolved that we urge the department to continue to lead in promoting healthy foods and sound dietary choices to improve the well-being of New Jersey's citizens by promoting programs such as Jersey Fresh Farm to School, Farm to Preschool, Farm to Summer, and school wellness policies. Be it further resolved that we urge the department to continue promoting the increased participation in school breakfast programs, especially the inclusion of breakfast after the bell options, which have helped New Jersey significantly increase participation over the past several years. Be it further resolved that we urge the governor and the legislature to recognize the critical nature of maintaining state funding levels supporting the federal school nutrition and commodity programs in an amount that will ensure that no accompanying federal funds are lost. Be it further resolved that we urge those at all levels responsible for purchasing or otherwise acquiring food for community feeding programs to ensure that those foods are grown, harvested, or produced in New Jersey to the greatest extent practicable. Be it further resolved that we stress the critical nature of the governor and legislature providing adequate funding for the state food purchase program in the fiscal year 2023 budget at a level at least equal to the current funding, and that additional funding should be provided for storage and distribution of emergency food. Be it further resolved that we urge the department to work with New Jersey fruit and vegetable processing companies and the Rutgers Food Innovation Center to produce prepackaged, value-added, single-serve New Jersey fruit and vegetable products and made with Jersey fresh products for use in school food service menus. Be it further resolved that we encourage the department to engage in an education and outreach campaign to link hunters with butchers and to further link those butchers with feeding operations in order to fulfill the mission of hunters helping the hungry by moving meat from hunts into the stream of food accepted by the feeding operations. Be it further resolved that we strongly support increased participation in the following safety net federal and state nutrition programs administered by the department: National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program, After School Snack Program, Special Milk Program, Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, Child and Adult Care Food Program, Summer Food Service Program, School Commodity Program, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, the State Food Purchase Program, WIC, and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. Be it further resolved that we do hereby support and encourage the use of grants from all possible sources by New Jersey fishermen to establish the United States Seafood Gleaning Program, and that we support the USSGP pilot project in Monmouth and Ocean counties in New Jersey to promote these efforts. Do I have a motion to adopt a resolution? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The resolution is adopted. Mr. President, that takes us through Resolution 9, and at this point, I will turn the podium back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. At this point, I'm going to call Secretary Fisher to the podium for legislator remarks.
Do we have that tape ready, Jeff? What? So this is, thank you. So, Senator Cory Booker is going to give you his remarks for the convention. He actually was attempting to come here. He was very interested in agriculture. You're going to hear in his remarks just that. I know there's sometimes some confusion in terms of messaging, in terms of what you all in agriculture think senators trying to accomplish. I think this will set some of the record straight. And I'm going to ask you now to roll that now.
Hi, I'm Senator Cory Booker. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words. I want you all to know I am in love, very sincerely, with the New Jersey ag community. And it's what I've learned from you and others that is the reason why I joined the Senate Agricultural Committee, where now I have the opportunity to fight for the policies that really are going to help level the playing field for New Jersey family farmers, bring resources back to New Jersey, and work towards feeding American families with healthy, nutritious food. So I'm grateful to you all. I've learned so much in a short period of time as a United States Senator about what you all, the hard work that you all do every single day. And I want to thank the New Jersey Department of Agriculture and their Secretary Fisher, for the partnership and the incredible work that you do on behalf of New Jersey farmers, and for one of New Jersey's most critical industries when you look at how much it contributes to our state, which is agriculture. So many of you know, last year I was honored to be appointed to that Senate Ag Committee. While many people were asking, why is a senator who lives in Newark, New Jersey, what's he doing on this historic Senate committee? Well, I see it as an opportunity, exciting opportunity to work on the issues that I'm really passionate about empowering independent family farmers who are still the backbone, the bedrock, the heart of our nation. It's about improving our food systems. It's about making sure that no American goes hungry and that we deal with this explosion of diet-related diseases we have in this nation. I joined the Senate Agricultural Committee because I believe that a consciousness is growing, a movement is growing in our country to bring about constructive change to our food and farm systems, to create more justice in the system that reins in these massive corporate consolidated power and creates a food system that aligns with our national values, with our family values. I want to help to do my part to make that happen, and I want to partner with you to do that work. The way we grow our food touches everyone's lives, from families in the Central Ward of Newark, New Jersey, to the middle of the Corn Belt. I am so grateful to have all of you beside me in this work, to level the playing field for family farmers, to bring resources back to our state that grows what they call specialty crops. But those are the crops actually that nutritionists in our government and in our universities tell us we should be eating the most of. I want to work with you to make sure that the health of our nation is not declining, that the life expectancy of our nation is not declining, but instead our well-being, our health, our vitality, the futures of our children are getting better and better and better. Over the past year, I have relied on New Jersey stakeholders like you to inform my efforts. I have introduced bipartisan bills, because this is not a partisan issue, that would convene a second national White House conference on food, nutrition, hunger, and health. The first and only White House conference focused on hunger and nutrition, the year I was born, way back in 1969, led to landmark legislation and nearly a decade of really good progress in the fight to end hunger. Now, half a century later, we are still grappling with food insecurity and also now facing a growing crisis that's a nutrition crisis. It's time for a new conference to hear from stakeholders like you to ensure that all our communities have access to the food they need, not just to live, but to thrive. New Jersey is home to, I believe, one of our nation's premier agricultural research institutions, the Scarlet Knights, Rutgers University. And as the Senate prepares to adopt the next Farm Bill, resources for critical agricultural research will be another one of my big priorities. I've also worked on legislation that aims to provide more equity and fairness to our farmers. I think this has been one of the great disrespected groups in America, and many farmers around our country are suffering as a result. We've seen policies that have worked against them and for these massive multinational corporations. Well, I want to put farmers back at the center. I want to make sure farmers are getting their just share of the consumer dollar. And I want to make sure that we're providing the resources to our farmers to really help them engage in the practices that they know are good, not just for the harvest, but also for our climate. I've met New Jersey farmers, and I know the vast majority of our farmers, the overwhelming majority, want to be good stewards of the land. They know the land. It's been often in their family for generations in this country. The problem is that we now have a system, often aided and abetted by federal policy, that forces our farms to compete with unsustainable industrial operations in other parts of the country. The current system is polluting our air, it's polluting our water, it's contributing to climate change. And is pushing too many of our farmers towards bankruptcy. If we can change federal policy and provide farmers with incentives to adopt those practices they know that work, like soil health conservation, practices like planting cover crops and using rotational grazing, not only can we lead the way on addressing climate change, but it'll also make our farms and our rural communities more resilient to extreme weather events. It will also help to reduce flooding, protect our drinking water, create habitat for wildlife, and improve the bottom line of farmers. Again, improve their bottom line and improve our environment at the same time. You know better than I do that farmers are really on the front line of the climate fight. And they are on the front line of preventing droughts and floods and other extreme weather events that are impacting our food system and the lives of so many Americans. Now, COVID-19 showed us how fragile our current food system is. So I've also introduced legislation to put an end to this corporate consolidation that is so hurting our nation's economy and our farmers. It's aiming to really rein in some of the nation's largest factory farming operations over time and to provide billions of dollars for voluntary payments to farmers who want to transition to more sustainable types of farming. It is in everyone's interest and in all of our interests, frankly, to make sure the food system holds up and that we make these big investments and transition our food systems to more sustainable, regenerative models that put farmers first. I see this as an opportunity. I really see this as a win-win, frankly, for farmers, for families, for consumers, for the land, for our nature, for our future generations. I want to build upon programs like the Farmers to Families Food Box program, getting locally sourced healthy foods to the families that need it. I want to provide you and your colleagues with more USDA resources to protect your family's investments and to make your land more productive and more resilient. And I believe we can do this by working together, that we can actually help to educate consumers and others so that they know we have a mission. Farmers get up every day with a mission to feed families across America. You all are called, in fact, to do what we see from the Bible and our religious institutions that are some of the most noble things are to do. To help people who are struggling with food insecurity, help people who are struggling with health challenges. Farmers, more than doctors in some ways, if you look at what healthy food does for the people, you all can help us live up to the highest calling, I think, of humanity, which is to serve others, to empower others to have life and have it more abundantly. So I appreciate your ongoing support as we work together to incentivize our local food systems, protect our family farmers, and implement conservation practices to make our farms more resilient and in line with our values. I am so excited to be working with New Jersey farmers. I believe in you, and I have, in many ways, in my efforts on the Ag Committee, been raised up by your wisdom and the time many of you have spent with me. I know we have more work to do. I know I'm going to continue to get better and better as a new member of that Ag Committee. And as the next Farm Bill comes in the many months ahead, I'm looking forward to working with you so we can get more New Jersey wins. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless our state and our great nation.
So I just want a couple comments with that. First of all, I've known Cory Booker for a number of years, probably since the very beginning of his career. I'll tell you a couple things. Number one, he didn't read that speech. That just rolled off his tongue because that's what he believes. So that's that. You know, we all spend a lot of time with a lot of people in politics. We've all had our interactions. So I'm suggesting to you to think about the words that he's saying, because I know there have been times when people have said it's you know, they're concerned for a couple of reasons, right? Like he's a vegan. Okay, that means something if you're in animal agriculture, I guess. But that's his personal belief. And I'm only saying that because I actually just saw the tape because he just sent it in, I think, yesterday. We had asked for it, or maybe yesterday, right, Mary? just yesterday. So we all watched it together at the same time. I want to just knock off a couple of these things that he mentioned. No, number one, he said specialty crops. I was with him in North Jersey the day he came to the RC&D event about soil health, and he didn't know of that specialty crops. In fact, most people in Congress don't realize that specialty crops are everything but row crops. They don't realize that it's the Florida navels and Idaho potatoes and Jersey blueberries and Jersey cranberries and everything, just about everything we grow is considered to be a specialty crop. And so when I spoke to him about it, he quickly picked up on it, and he's on the Ag Committee. And what I'm saying to you is we need not hundreds of millions, but billions of dollars for specialty crops, because that's the thing that everybody talks about when they talk about food and nutrition. They're talking about getting more fresh fruits and vegetables into urban food deserts, into our schools, into our homes, and everywhere else. And so I think he's going to pick up that mantle when the next farm bill comes around. And I'm going to get to in a second what I'm counting on all of you to help us educate him and those members in Congress who don't know this. He talked about equity. He talked about conservation. He talked about the food box program, which I know a number of you want very much to have the food box program reauthorized in these food bills so that we get that. These are I don't know if we'll have time, but these are resolutions that I'd like the convention to think about for some of those issues, not necessarily any one person's agenda, but these are what you try to do at times is to slide into an agenda that you think agrees with what you believe in the ag community and in what you're doing. And I think many of these things that he touched on are things that you would all support. We know that in certain parts of agriculture, there is a corporate consolidation that is a bit unhealthy, right? We know where some of those choke points are. So his heart, I believe, is in the right place. I just want to, before people say, as he said, and he said to me, why am I, somebody on Newark wants to get on the Ag Committee when we know it's, New Jersey hasn't had a member in multi-decades. So in addition to that, I think he's the chair of the one of the food nutrition committees, also because he believes in these issues. So I'm just suggesting to you that there are things that we're all asking for in our community that will actually dovetail nicely into what the senator is asking and advancing. So I hope that as time goes on, you all help me, help the state board, help each other figure out how to get some of that information to certainly who someone's on the National Agricultural Committee. That's a big win for New Jersey. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Fisher, for those comments. I'd like to resume voting session. Chairman Bill Cutts, can we resume the session?
So we are going to resume resolutions. We're at resolution number 10, found at page 28. And for both this resolution and the next resolution, I'm going to deviate from our normal practice of reading only the now therefores and read the whole resolution. Whereas Stephen M. Sweeney has served in the New Jersey Senate since 2002, and been in the Senate president from 2010 until the end of the most recent full session. And whereas Senator Sweeney has served his entire legislative career representing New Jersey's 3rd District, which includes heavily agricultural areas in Gloucester, Salem, and Cumberland counties. And whereas reflecting the constituency in that district, Senator Sweeney has long been a fervent advocate for the needs of farmers and related agricultural business owners and workers. And whereas the agriculture-related legislative initiatives Senator Sweeney has championed over 2 decades of service include, but are not limited to, a package of bills to help farmers financially offset recent increases in the state's minimum wage, a measure to have the Department of Agriculture reimburse dairy farmers for premiums they pay for price margin insurance, and a bill to require that any fresh produce advertised as local or locally grown, or implied by retailers or wholesalers to be so, must have been grown and packed in New Jersey. And whereas Senator Sweeney frequently has taken time to address the State Agricultural Convention, either during the delegates' time on the convention floor or as the featured speaker at the convention dinner, and has always offered frank, candid comments, even when his views differed from those of the majority of the delegates. And whereas Senator Sweeney was a much-needed voice in the state's agricultural industry when, in 2008, the Department of Agriculture was facing elimination as a standing department in the state's executive branch. And whereas Senator Sweeney's longtime friendship with 3rd District connection with current Secretary of Agriculture Douglas H. Fisher, who served as one of the 3rd District's assemblymen and was the chairman of the Assembly Agriculture Committee before becoming secretary, has led to a continuation of the importance both men placed on agriculture in the legislature, as evidenced by the Secretary's approach to his work as the head of the department. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the delegates to the 107th State Agricultural Convention assembled in Atlantic City, New Jersey on February 9 and 10, 2022, do hereby acknowledge the many accomplishments of Senator Stephen M. Sweeney in his advocacy for New Jersey agriculture during his more than 20 years in the New Jersey Senate, and wish him all success in his future endeavors. Do I have a motion to adopt? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The motion is adopted. We'll now move to resolution number 11 in appreciation of Assemblyman Eric Hauthaling, found at page 30 of your book. Again, I will read the entire resolution. Whereas Eric Hauthaling has served in the New Jersey General Assembly since 2016 and has served as chairman of the Assembly Agriculture Committee since January 2019, after having been its vice chairman, and also has served as chairman of the Tourism, Gaming, and the Arts Committee and deputy majority leader. And whereas Assemblyman Hauthaling from Neptune, New Jersey, from Neptune Township, has served his entire legislative career representing the 11th District, which covers a diverse array of 18 municipalities in Monmouth County, some with ties to tourism and the ocean-related economy, and some with significant agricultural businesses. And whereas Assemblyman Hauthaling has reflected the diverse needs and interests of the municipalities that make up the district, including being an effective advocate for the farmers and agricultural businesses both in his district and throughout New Jersey. And whereas the agriculture-related initiatives Assemblyman Hauthaling has championed during his time in the legislature include, but are not limited to, measures aimed at addressing the state's white-tailed deer overpopulation and its impact on crop loss to farmers, including spearheading legislation to provide more state support for deer fencing on farms, helping those in the business of housing horses in stalls by removing the state sales tax requirement on their services, establishing a program for loan redemption for teachers of agriculture who stay to teach in New Jersey, establishing a Jersey native plants program to promote horticultural products native to and raised in New Jersey, authorizing the award of reasonable costs and attorney's fees to farmers prevailing in certain farm management disputes, and many others. Whereas Assemblyman Houthaling, an electrician by trade, has earned a reputation for being a frequent visitor to farms, both in his district and throughout the state, either on his own or as part of legislative farm tours, to learn firsthand all he can about the operations on the farms related to his chairmanship of the Agriculture Committee. And whereas Assemblyman Houthaling has frequently taken time to address the annual State Agricultural Convention, as well as meetings of other agricultural agencies and groups throughout the state. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the delegates to the 107th State Agricultural Convention, assembled in Atlantic City, New Jersey on February 9 and 10, 2022, do hereby acknowledge the many accomplishments of Assemblyman Houthaling in his advocacy for New Jersey agriculture during his tenure in the General Assembly, and wish him all success in his future endeavors. Do I have a motion to adopt? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Do you have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The resolution is adopted. Thank you.
I don't know if Eric knew we were doing this, but Eric, could you come on up, please, Assemblyman? As chairman of the Ag Committee. A great friend to agriculture, and is probably the most educated on agriculture electrician in the state.
Good afternoon, everybody. And it's a pleasure for me to be here. Honestly, I didn't even know this was happening, quite honestly, and I'm just thrilled to death. It's been quite a long journey for me here through agriculture, and the first time that we had ran, a woman on our campaign said to me, maybe when I won the election, I really didn't know too much about the assembly. And never thought that I would win. But Jen Taylor told me, Eric, one of the things that would be a good fit for you, I think, would be the Agriculture Committee. So I volunteered for that, and I guess the speaker was very happy because I don't know how many people, I don't know whether they got to force people to be on that committee or what, but I'll tell you what, it was a good fit for me. And I could feel it every time I shook a hand of a farmer, the hard work that goes into what he has done, what his life is, because it was a lot like me. My hands were constantly calloused from hard work. Hard work does a lot to you, kind of humbles you. And, that's what I see. That's what I always felt. And having the opportunity for those 6 years to go around and visit the farms that I went to, it was amazing. And I am so full of knowledge. When I talk to people about agriculture, it's like, well, how do you know all this stuff? I learned it. I learned it because I knew how hard it was for everybody, and I wanted to make it as easy as we could from the state of New Jersey. I wanted the state to be helpful, to be a part of the growth of what goes on in agriculture for our state. And I wanted our farmers to be successful. I wanted the state to be a partner in that, to make that happen. And to a certain extent, we were, and we got a lot done. And you know, the governor's last month of his term, he had signed six of my bills for agriculture. And Joanne and I from the 11th district from that same period had 13 bills signed into law. So when I think about the fact that I did lose my election, I kind of scratched my head. It's like, wow, what more could I have done? But anyway, I have found a home with this group here. I have found wonderful people that I love to talk to and listen to. Matter of fact, I just went to a couple courses over there about blueberries and container, and I have a real major question I got to ask about root bound in a container. But anyway, it's been a pleasure, and you're such an honorable profession, and it's such a difficult profession, and I'm sure that you still will be in good hands. Doug here and the whole group of people that I always relied on, the Farm Bureau, Department of Agriculture, the Ag Society, and you know, we have another guy in the back of the room there that's stepping down as well. He was always awesome to me, Al Murray. And it's just friends, and it was a friendly environment for me, and something that I always appreciated, and something that I will always remember. And I want to say thank you all very much.
So we will resume with resolution number 12, and I will revert back to our normal practice of reading only the now therefores. So that resolution is found at page 32, and I will begin reading at page 34, line 52. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the delegates to the 107th State Agricultural Convention, assembled in Atlantic City, New Jersey on February 9 and 10, 2022, do hereby call upon the New Jersey Senate to establish an Agriculture, Food, and Nutrition Committee as a standing committee. Be it further resolved that upon the establishment of that committee, we urge serious consideration be given to the knowledge, familiarity, and interest of each member regarding agriculture before their selection to serve on this committee. Be it further resolved that until a Senate Agriculture, Food, and Nutrition Committee is established, we urge New Jersey Farm Bureau and other agricultural advocacy groups to continue working with the Senate's existing committees to ensure that agriculture-related bills are taken up regularly and in a timely manner, as these are, until the creation of the committee called for in this resolution, the only Senate committees in which these bills are heard. Do I have a motion to adopt? Bill, thank you. A second? We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. Resolution is adopted. We'll now move on to Resolution 13, Federal Farm Bill Priorities, found at page 35 of your packet. I will begin reading at page 38, line 89. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the delegates to the 107th State Agricultural Convention, assembled in Atlantic City, New Jersey on February 9 and 10, 2022, urge the Congress of the United States to include within the next Farm Bill and urge the New Jersey congressional delegation to advocate for and support the following: additional funding and other support for specialty crops, giving serious consideration to changing the term specialty crops to something that more accurately conveys the agricultural products currently covered under that definition, such as consumer purchased farm products. Additional funding and other support in helping states fight invasive species, both plant and animal, as well as plant and animal diseases, with an emphasis on preventing invasive species and exotic diseases from entering the United States through international ports. Greater attention to conservation of farmland in states experiencing development pressures. Funding to develop smaller, independent processors of meat and other livestock products to ensure a more reliable supply chain for such products. And reviewing the multiple definitions of rural in the USDA's rural development programs to ensure that they focus on the importance of agriculture to a given geographical area, not simply the number of people living in that area. Be it further resolved that we urge the New Jersey congressional delegation to propose and/or support funding in the next Farm Bill to help bring reliable broadband telecommunications and internet to rural areas of this state, and to ensure that such funding is tied to the agricultural character of a rural area, not solely to its population or inclusion in a given census tract. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion? Steve?
Steve Wagner, NJNLA. I think it was line 59. I don't know. It was the one about exotic or invasive species that should also include insects. No, it's down farther.
It would be somewhere between 97 and 100.
Yeah, 97. So where it says invasive species, it should be something like whether plant, animal, or insect. Because in our industry, insects are the biggest problem. Yeah, something like that.
So we have a motion to insert those words. So at line 97, it would now read additional funding and other support in helping states fight invasive species, comma, I think, invasive plant, animal, and, no, invasive species.
Whether it be plants.
I can't see the can't.
Or including.
Yeah, that would be good. Couldn't get the punctuation quite right there. So additional funding and other support in helping states fight invasive species, including plant, animal, and insects, I guess.
Insects, plural, yeah. That should
As
do
well
it.
as plant and animal diseases, etc. So that's the motion. Do I have a second? Have a second. Any discussion on the proposed amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. The amendment is adopted. The amendment carries. Now back to discussion on the full resolution. Any further discussion on the full resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. The resolution as amended is adopted. Mr. President, we've now completed resolutions 10 through 13, and I will turn the podium back to you. Thank you.
Okay. Is she here now? She could. She could introduce herself. Huh? You want her to introduce herself? Shelley, are you out there?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Secretary Fisher. For those of you I have not met, I am Shelley Bell, Chief of Staff to Assemblyman Roy Fryman, who is the Chair of the Agricultural Committee. And so we are so delighted to be working with you, excited to be here. Our office is always open. And let me tell you this, our staff loves corn, tomatoes, blueberries. Our mantra is no farm, no food. So we need food, right? And so thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Shelley. We have a few more programs here. I'd like to call up Reich Saddam from Farm Bureau. Could you give us a report?
Okay, we're in the fourth quarter, right, Coach? Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Reich Sudam. I'm president of the Farm Bureau, and as you heard me earlier, I'm a farmer from Somerset County, New Jersey. Let me give you a little update, it says, from New Jersey Farm Bureau. What I'm going to touch on today is the number one, and probably will be here, the number one issue at the New Jersey Farm Bureau Convention was ag viability. I'm going to talk about ag viability and sustainability. You hear those two interchanged all the time. I'm going to touch on that in a minute, as well as the successes we've had in agriculture in the past year. Some of it with a lot of guidance from Farm Bureau, so we got to take a little credit for that. I'm going to talk about what's ahead of us, what we think is ahead of us. It always changes. What's ahead of us for the coming year. And I'm also going to talk about advocacy, what we can do about advocacy. I want you to stand up for agriculture, defend our position. So we're going to talk about ways to do that, and we're going to make it easy. Even I could do it. So let me start with that viability thing and sustainability. Depending where you are, we all want clean air, clean water, good soil. We're not going to argue that. But some environmentalists think that they own that. No, they don't. We own that too. But we also have to make a profit. You got to make money at this farm thing. Otherwise, you're not going to do it very long. That's the other part of sustainability. That's the viability part. Well, I'm going to ask you to carry that message. We have to marry these two things together, viability and sustainability. They're basically the same thing, but sometimes it gets hijacked. We are the original conservationists, the farmers. So I'm going to ask you to, when that subject comes up, you got to remind people that, yeah, we're in favor of clean air, clean water. That's the only way we're going to continue in farming, but we got to do it at a point where we can make some money. Sorry, brutally honest. If we're not making money, it's not sustainable. At least that's what it is in my vision. Because if anybody noticed, we're going to have higher inputs. Anybody hear that? What's the forecast on your fertilizer bill this year? Mine's somewhere between 200 and 300% what it was last year. Let's talk about parts. equipment, supplies. My twine bill, Matt Puskas helped me. What are we up, 40% from last year? Something like that. Just packaging, boxes, just plain beer boxes, I use beer boxes for plants, so just bear with me. Those plain cardboard boxes, they've almost doubled the beer boxes that supply to carry plants out of my greenhouse. So we've got to be sustainable and viable. And again, I'm going to ask you to carry that message to the public that, yeah, prices are going up, but it's costing us more money to make our crop too. So think about viability and sustainability as putting those together. Now, when I say that, I don't want to cry all over the floor. Farmers are great at, I can't say, complaining about things. And I don't want you to do that. I want you just to tell the message because it varies by commodity. Things that affect grain are different than the things that affect fruit and vegetables. Livestock is entirely different because you're invested in that animal sometimes for 2 years. So your inputs today, what are you going to get out of it in 2 years? And for my opinion and for my experience, the non-farm public and the media will understand it better coming from us than coming from some report that was done in Washington, let's say. So where are the boots on the ground farmers? Tell that story because we have to get ready for the next challenge. Haven't you noticed in your entire life there's always something else? Well, we're hitting a big one right now. So I'm going to call upon the people in this group, the leaders, to tell that story. Okay, let's talk about some good news. The successes of agriculture in the past year. Locally grown, we heard about that earlier today. Good for us. Got that done. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Let's talk about deer fencing. Deer fencing legislation got passed. Now we got to get it funded. I'll talk more about that in just a little bit. We deflected some pesticide issues about registrations, especially neonics, a good success for us. I'm going to use the word deflected again. Pig crates. Everybody remember the pig crate bill, the gestation crate? Well, we've held that off. Well, it's coming back. So we're going to stay on our toes. I tell people all the time, I say, what do you have against pigs? I have nothing against pigs. I love pigs. I raise pigs. But we don't have a breeding problem in New Jersey with gestation crates. I tell people all the time, this is a solution in search of a problem. So let's stay at it. We have the opportunity to amend the humane standards that the department has. That's the place where that should happen. So we've done good so far. We got to keep going. We've lobbied successfully for $3 million in supplemental funds for the experiment station. I think, Brian Schilling, we need that, don't we? Yes, very good. Let's put some barn roofs on, if nothing else. Let's see. Brought balance to some legislation at the BPU about solar on farmland, especially agrovoltaics. That's where ag and solar can come together. Advocacy action. This is the thing I'm going to touch on a little bit. This is started new at Farm Bureau. I'll finish with that. We've been reviewing and monitoring the special occasion events and soil protection on preserved farmland. Let's see. We've joined American Farm Bureau and farmers across the U.S. opposing capital gains and increases to the estate tax. Not real exciting, not real sexy, but we live in the state with the most expensive farmland in the nation. That was important to us, our families, and future generations. So keeping that out from impacting us, I think was a big deal. So no, it wasn't exciting or sexy, but pretty damn important. New Jersey Farm Bureau has done a great job this year, in the last 2 years, with impact of the pandemic, with our weekly newsletter. And we have a monthly one that goes specifically to associate members. So all good. We've done some good work with farmland preservation funds, supporting right to farm. We've been holding the line on the ag minimum wage. Did you hear in New York, they're going to eliminate overtime? the exemption for overtime, that would kill me. No, the guys who work for me, mostly guys, one woman, I love them. They do great work most of the time. But if I had to pay them overtime, that's back to sustainability and viability, I'd be in a lot of trouble. So New York, you know, let's not let that happen here in New Jersey. All right, what's coming up? We need $500,000 for that deer fencing thing we passed. And that's the advocacy I'm going to finish with in a minute. $300,000, I think, is what we need in the budget to help fund Jersey Fresh, Jersey Grown, Jersey Bred, now Jersey Raised. Did I say that right, Joe? Jersey Raised. Again, we got to fight the pig crate bills coming back. Extending right to farm for aquaculture and $100,000 to promote New Jersey aquaculture. Some federal issues, WOTUS, that's an acronym. Bill, where are you? It hates acronyms. WOTUS is Waters of the U.S. It looks like that's going to be heard by SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the U.S. And the Supreme Court only hears about 1% of the cases that are brought before them. So this is good news for agriculture. Maybe not so much in New Jersey, but agriculture as a whole. And we are a big family in this country. So that's a big deal. Now, under federal issues, I had planned to speak about Mr. Booker. I didn't know that he was going to send a video. Now, I know Cory Booker. I've been to events with him. He's had at an event in my farm, in one of my hay barns, sat down with a group of farmers talking about issues that affected us. I know the senator, and he knows me. In the South, we'd say, bless his heart. I agree with a lot of what he said. His heart's in the right place. However, I think he's getting a one-sided story. I know he wants to talk to New Jersey farmers. I think he needs to talk to us more often. And I'm going to ask you to help me with that by reaching out to the senator's office and say, hey, come meet with New Jersey farmers. Come meet with me. We'll meet with your staff either in New Jersey, take the train up to Newark, and sit down with them and talk to a Jersey farmer directly. So because there's two big things the senator is pushing. He wants to restrict more pesticides all the time. And when a pesticide is used in accordance to the label under the proper weather conditions by a licensed applicator, they're fine. Yeah, once in a while, there's some drift. But Mr. Booker wants to clamp down on use of pesticides altogether. And some of the theories he has about livestock is just going to increase the cost of food that's going to go to his constituents. So we've got more work to do with Mr. Booker. I'm going to work on it. New Jersey Farm Bureau is, and I'm going to ask for your help at the same time. Okay. Let me go back to this advocacy thing I keep promising you. Where is it? We hired a company at New Jersey Farm Bureau called Soft Edge. They got a computer program, which is really pretty slick. And there's only about 8 states in the nation that do this, but American Farm Bureau does it too. You're going to Farm Bureau members, raise your hand, please. Okay, those who didn't raise their hand, see me for an application. With your Farm Bureau number, you can go into the Farm Bureau website. I wish I had prepared it, but I didn't. Trust me, you can do it. Go into the Farm Bureau website, you plug in your Farm Bureau member number. It'll ask for your zip code. I hope you know that one. But if you don't have your Farm Bureau member number, just call the farmhouse. We'll get it for you. It's real easy. You plug in your Farm Bureau membership number, your zip code, and now we know who you are. And you click on advocacy, and it'll take you right to our very first issue, which is deer fencing, is funding for the deer fencing. We need $500,000. We got to ask the legislature and the governor, even though they agreed that we want to do this deer fencing thing, now we got to pay for it. So I'm going to ask you, all you Farm Bureau members, to go onto the webpage, member number, zip code, go to advocacy, and it's preloaded. It's a form letter. There's actually 3 of them. We're only going to show you one, but it rotates, so it's not boring. So when they receive these, it's not the same thing over and over again. But it'll already tell you, because the software does it, by your zip code, who your assembly persons are, who your senator is, and it'll send a letter to the governor, all 4. And you can click on and off. You don't want to send all 4, that's fine. But what you do, it has a letter. It talks about the issue. There's a section in there where you can personalize it, put in your own verbiage. Pretty simple. Doesn't have to be Shakespeare. Just put something in there that say that deer are affecting my farm, and this funding will be a big help in eliminating deer in my tomatoes. And then you click the button, and it sends the email to your legislators. And if there's an election, you don't have to worry about it, because the software already knows Eric Hotelling isn't your district anymore, but the new assembly person will get that letter. And if you're old school like me, I printed them too. So the email went, but I also printed them, and then I put my handwritten signature and my phone number, and this one that's to the governor. He may not call me. Senator Bob Smith. Bob Smith knows me, and he already has my phone number. I'm gonna say, Senator, call me so we can talk about this. So you can send the email real quick. It took me, I screwed up the first time, so I had to go through the second time. But altogether, my 2 attempts was less than 5 minutes. I got 4 emails out asking for the funding for the deer fencing, and I printed them. So now I'm going to put them in an envelope, with a handwritten envelope with a stamp from America instead of a meter. I like seeing stamps. And I'm going to send it to these 4 asking for support on the deer fencing. It's that easy. Even I can do it. I bet Roger Kumpel could do it. That's not a shot, Roger. You're in a good company. So it's advocacy action. And after you do this first one, at the bottom, you just click another box that says, send me more information on the next issue that comes up through Farm Bureau. We are going to get this group and more Farm Bureau members to get a swell on policy that's going to help all of us. And it's not hard. It's really not hard. We had to pay for this. New Jersey Farm Bureau had to pay for this software, for this service. Wasn't bad. Not a secret. $2,000. Pretty efficient. Now I just need you guys to help me by logging in, going on to advocacy, and it's self-explanatory from there. Real simple. So the report from Farm Bureau is that we got more work to do. We had a lot of successes. This advocacy action thing is going to make a difference. And standing up for your industry by clicking, sending the emails, and if you're old school like me, print the paper and send it to your legislators, and it will work. Secretary Fisher heard me talk about this the other day and thought it was a great idea. So if Doug thinks it's a great idea, it's a great idea. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of the way. I know we have a few more things to do. I won't take questions now, but if you want to know more about this advocacy action thing especially, we have Farm Bureau team members here in the room. I know Pete Fury's here. Pete's walking my way, wave. And Ed and Ashley are in the back. So is Ben. Al Murray might even know how to do this. Al who? So please join us in the advocacy action. It's going to make a difference, and we need all the help we can get. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Reich. Our next speaker, I want you to give her a warm welcome here. Abigail Goodenough is New Jersey's FFA president. Abigail attends Delaware Valley University, majoring in animal science with a focus on livestock management, with plans to work for USDA and animal inspections and raise her own herd of beef cattle. She served as 2020 and 2021 New Jersey State FFA Vice President in Northern Burlington FFA Chapter, Secretary and President, and competed in a wide variety of career and leadership development events. This involvement led her selection as a New Jersey FFA Member of the Year. Her surprise agriculture experience consists of working on her family farm through caring for her family beef herd and assisting in production on corn, soybean, hay, and straw and crops. Abigail's herd work at her supervised agriculture experience has earned her the Beef Production Placement Proficiency Award and Star State Placement. Boy, that's a lot of words. Let's all give Abigail a warm welcome. New Jersey's FFA president.
Thank you for that very warm welcome. Good afternoon, Secretary Fisher, President DeFrange, members of the State Board of Agriculture, delegates, and guests of the 107th State Agricultural Convention. I'm Abby Goodenough, and I'm currently serving as the State FFA President, hailing from the Northern Burlington FFA chapter. I'm studying livestock management at Delaware Valley University. I work on my family's farm as well as at Petticoat Veterinary Clinic. I'm excited for a future in animal agriculture. With that in mind, I'd like to set the scene for you. The year is 2060, and I'm now 57 years old, the average age of a farmer, and sitting in those seats as a delegate at the 145th State Agricultural Convention. The world has changed drastically in the last 38 years. We don't quite have flying cars yet, but the population has grown by over 3 billion people. That means way more houses, schools, and most importantly, mouths to feed. But here's the catch. Even though 38 years have passed, agricultural practices are similar to today's standards. I think you'd agree that if time continued, but the agriculture industry remained frozen in its current ways, there would not be enough production to sustain life. There would not be enough food to eat, clothing to wear, or houses to live in. The ways of today will not work for the world of tomorrow. There is a lot to be proud of from the last 38 years. Since the early 80s, technology has changed agriculture, whether it's improvements in animal and crop genetics that have increased production and yields, mechanizations that allow farmers to produce more with less labor, or automation and climate control of facilities that utilize Wi-Fi and can be controlled from a smartphone. It's time to start imagining what the next 38 years can bring and should be, and take action. It's time to learn from our past to grow and help us evolve for the future. Now is the time to shape the next generations of agriculturalists who will be the future of the agriculture industry. Growing up on my family's farm, I know firsthand that sometimes it is not easy making changes. And by not easy, I mean waking up one day and saying, "Hey, Dad, you know what this farm needs? Beef cattle." As you can imagine, does not get him on board right away. After all, hay, straw, corn, and soybeans were all our farm knew and were what worked for decades. But eventually, after researching startup costs, market trends, health practices, and everything in between, I was ready to present my case. Understandably, it was not an easy decision for my dad to take the risk of incorporating a whole new commodity to the farm. But he saw the potential in expanding our operation, and we went for it. We kept the other aspects of the farm the same, but by evolving in one area, we were able to benefit the entire operation. We still focus on hay, straw, and grain, but now our loose hay that lines the floors of the barns get fed to our cattle instead of being wasted, and the waste from the cattle gets distributed onto the fields as fertilizer. As the fourth generation working on my family's farm, it has always been important to my brothers and me to make our father, grandfather, and great-grandfather proud. And while this could be accomplished in various ways, sometimes we think of the easiest being to do things exactly how they have always done. But the truth is, change can equal growth, and growth doesn't have to equal changing everything. We can stay true to our roots while still being innovative for the future. Let's reflect on our own lives. What new ideas have you considered but may have been skeptical of trying? And I don't mean trying a new food or wearing a color you're not used to. Let's think deeper into our specific sector of agriculture. Let's go home and implement that new idea. Instead of focusing on what has been done, let's put energy into what can be done. We are now ready to move forward and look to the future. But what happens when we are ready to pass the torch and watch others pick up where we leave off? Food, agriculture, and natural resources education and the National FFA organization are quite literally meant to shape the next generation of agriculturalists. Most students involved in these programs have the future in mind. One project that sticks out in my mind was conducted by students of an FFA chapter in Hawaii. These students have been growing banana grass at their school. Once the grass reaches the appropriate height, it is harvested and placed into a digester, producing a renewable gas through anaerobic digestion. Besides becoming an incredible energy source, local farmers in Hawaii are planting this grass on otherwise unusable land. Right here in New Jersey, students are using technology like the Farmbot to engage and inspire the next generation of farmers, engineers, plant scientists, and coders. The Farmbot uses a game-like interface for students to plan and design their garden. They can control the Farmbot from anywhere at any time with a computer, tablet, or smartphone. The Farmbot sows seeds, irrigates each plant with precision, spots and removes weeds, and controls proper lighting. It's an open-source precision agriculture CNC farming machine that aims to revolutionize small-scale food production. Students like this are using what they learn through food, agriculture, and natural resources education and FFA to create proactive solutions for the future's concerns. Students like this are embracing tradition while incorporating a new perspective for growth and innovation in the agriculture industry. What are you doing to support young people who are excited about the future of agriculture? How involved are you with your local agricultural programs and FFA chapters? Food, agriculture, and natural resources education and FFA need support from leaders like you to ensure a strong future for the agriculture industry. Consider how you can offer assistance to these programs and students, and do it. I believe in the future of agriculture, with a faith born not of words, but of deeds. These words from the FFA Creed have been spoken and lived by millions of FFA members. Although written nearly 100 years ago, they're still prevalent in the present and probably will be even in 2060. We cannot simply talk about the future of agriculture. We must take action to ensure a future of agriculture. The world is changing, and so must agriculture. Let's celebrate the past, appreciate the good that has been done, evolve our practices, and commit to preparing the next generation. This positive change will lead to a positive future. Thank you.
Abigail, that was incredible. I have to say, though, that's exciting, right? That's what gets us going. I have to say that the FFA that I've been involved with and watching them grow up just like this it inspires all of us. And you know what? Maybe we can heed what Abigail's telling us, is to reach out and get involved, because honestly, this is what some of these resolutions that we're seeing, it's to just keep going to try and just save what we have. But that's the type of energy we need to bring, is innovation. And innovation is going to drive the next generation for us in sustainability. And that is where it's at. So I just commend you, Abigail. Thank you very much again. So we have a few more things. Everybody's still awake. Is Joe Atchison here? We have one more presentation of an award. While we're waiting, dinner begins promptly at 6 p.m., Avalon Ballroom 3. And then don't forget, Nominations Committee and Resolutions Committee will meet immediately following the end of today's proceeding. Nominations will be in Wildwood Ballroom 12 and 13. Resolutions will meet right here. And then the convention will resume 9 a.m. early tomorrow morning. Not too much partying. Well, I'm just explaining that after we're done and we finalize this. Yeah. Because I know there's a lot of discussion in the resolutions, so there may be a little bit extra time so they can make it to dinner. Yeah, I mean, we can. All right, we're going to be waiting here. We're waiting for Joe Atchison. Just give us a few more minutes. Well, then maybe. Chairman Cutts, would you come up? Maybe we can continue while we're waiting. Let's keep going. Might as well keep it. Oh, that's fine. I got that. So.
Whoops. Andrew James.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to go get, we just found out that Bob Andrzejak was here. He's going to be the executive director of the FSA.
Sorry, Chairman.
So he's going to come in and some brief remarks. Sorry for the disjoint. You know what this means? It means that there was not any discord, that you all passed resolutions where there, some other years, there might have been more time for that. So that's actually a good thing. It means that there's some unanimity in terms of what it is that you're all looking for. So don't feel too bad that we're ahead of schedule. Be grateful in a way. So we're going to call on Bob's right around the corner, and the awards that we're going to hand out, they stepped out for a minute because they thought it was coming 45 minutes from now. So they'll be right back. And then in the meantime, as soon as Bob walks in, then we're going to have Chairman Bill do a couple more resolutions. And what it'll actually do is you'll just get out here earlier tomorrow. So it's okay. I think so, because I don't see him here yet. Go ahead. Okay, come on up, Bill.
I feel a little bit like that old who's on first routine. So I think we are up to resolution number 14, hemp. So we'll do hemp quickly while we're getting squared away here. This is resolution number 14. It's found at hemp. It's found at page 40 of your packet. I will begin reading on line 41 on page 41 at line 34. Now therefore, be it resolved that we, the delegates to the 107th State Agricultural Convention, assembled in Atlantic City on February 9 and 10, 2022, do hereby acknowledge that the work of the department to create parameters for the state's hemp program and secure USDA approval of that program, including testing of seeds and the inspections of growing facilities by the department's Division of Plant Industry. Be it further resolved that we urge the legislature and governor to include the necessary annual funding in the state budget to continue the department's testing, research, and promotional work in furthering the industrial hemp industry in New Jersey, and providing the necessary and adequate funding to the department to further work alone or in concert with other state and federal agencies to develop markets for hemp producers, including a hemp-based replacement for petroleum-based plastic packaging. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. The resolution is adopted. So are we ready to go, or are we moving on? Okay.
All right. Good afternoon. How is everyone? Good. All right. I was looking for you, Paul. I didn't know you were right up front here. Hello. My name is Bob Andrzak. For some of you that don't know me, I am going to be the new FSA executive director for the state of New Jersey. I look forward to working with all of you. I worked with many of you in the past. I served in the New Jersey General Assembly. I was chairman of Agriculture and Natural Resources. I came out to many of your operations, and I look forward to continuing that. Sorry, these masks are terrible. Whew. All right, thank you. I was tested. We're all good. But I served with many of you when I was in the legislature. I came out to a lot of your operations, and through those actions, I was able to determine what was actually needed for the state of New Jersey, and we were able to create law. And I'm proud to say that we were able to accomplish quite a bit in my tenure in that position. I also served in the New Jersey Senate for a brief stint, and agriculture has always been a passion of mine, and something that I was trying to further in the Senate. I think it's long overdue that the New Jersey Senate needs to establish a agriculture committee specifically for us, rather than lump us in with all the environmental legislation. But hopefully we can continue that in the future, and we can have those discussions. But moving forward, I look forward to working with all of you. I look forward to coming out and visiting all of you. And if you ever need anything, use me as a resource. I am here for you. With that, I will let you guys get back. I don't want to hold anybody up. I know you're ahead of schedule, so let's keep it that way. Have a good night.
Chairman?
Well, so, yeah, so.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yep. No.
That's all.
All right. All right. Thanks for bearing with us for a second. Obviously, being as efficient as you are, we had told our award recipients to come in around 4:30. And so we're just getting situated. I believe DeTavio is here. Were the Bertuzzi's into the room? Did they come into the room? No, not yet. Okay. Well, as part of this annual award, and it actually was presented last year, but with the virtual convention, we weren't able to present it in person. The Patrick J. Mullen Jersey Fresh Quality Grading Award, in recognition of their commitment to excellence in picking only the highest quality farm products, representing the best in the Jersey Fresh Quality Grading Program, and for their dedication to the promotion of Jersey Fresh. For 2021, we award DeTavio Produce of Vineland, New Jersey, the Patrick J. Mullen Jersey Fresh Quality Grading Award. If you guys can come up.
I see you.
And so when the Bertuzzi's arrive, we will pop in at the end of the convention and present them to their award as well. So back to the resolutions. Thank you.
That's true. Thank you, Joe. At this point, we're going to close the resolutions for today. And don't forget your marching orders. Don't be late for dinner, 6 p.m. And we start tomorrow sharp, 9 a.m. Yes. Well, that's it. No.
So those of you that are not part of the resolutions committee, I'd appreciate it if you can, after you get packed up, you can sort of move on out so that we can have the room for the committee meeting. We have a lot to do and we need to get started, and we can't do it with a lot of background noise. So thanks very much.